the place of Israel in particular in the surveillance industry is something that pertains to all our work, because Israel essentially sets itself up as this top-notch country in surveillance. A lot of its products from companies like Elbit Systems or NSO are being used to monitor migrants, to monitor asylum seekers, to look at refugee and migrant routes and be checking on them. But even with the COVID pandemic, a lot of these Israeli companies quickly moved to say, look, we are the experts in surveillance, take our equipment, and that's how you'll be able to monitor COVID symptoms as well. So I think in terms of actions to be thinking through right now, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement has already spoken about a lot of these companies and what they do. And I think it's a really critical moment to push this question of Israel and how it positions itself. Israel essentially says, we test this equipment on Palestinians. They do this through the military industry that's state-owned, but also through a large private industry that exists in other countries around the world as well. Elbit Systems, for example, which has a lot of equipment and drones, has factories all around the world. So I think this is a really crucial moment to be speaking about those questions of surveillance and Israel's particular role in surveillance circuits. Israel markets its weapons and places itself internationally as a leader within this sector because, and they use these words, field tested and battle proven. I worked as a researcher on Israel's military industry for a while, and it was remarkable to look at all of their websites and see how they use this language blatantly. Of course, their connections with the international industry is quite stark as well. There were recent cases around how some branches of Microsoft were actually embedded in some of the surveillance equipment used in the West Bank. Most biometric data gets collected on Palestinians, especially Palestinians who work inside the Green Line, inside Israel or the settlements. In order to get a permit, a work permit, you need a biometric ID. So Israel is one of the world leaders in one of those biometric IDs. Facial recognition is another really big side of this industry, and it's sold everywhere. There's facial recognition equipment that come from Israeli companies or companies outside of Israel but affiliated with the Israeli defense industry, which are getting tested, facial recognition programs getting tested in Scotland, in the United Arab Emirates. We see a lot of those. A company like NSO, for example, has been is being taken to court at the moment because of spyware that they put on human rights defenders' devices, both in the United Arab Emirates and in Mexico as well. They're being taken to court, and we'll see how that progresses. So the real issue here is that Israel uses this equipment to market around the world, and it is something that will harm human rights defenders and activists everywhere. And the campaign, especially since COVID, has really been remarkable by all of these companies. Their marketing is on overdrive to say that what we need right now is more surveillance. In a lot of those countries, many people have already critiqued the quick move to securitization, the discourse of, the militarism, this is a war, we have to fight the war. In the UK, Boris Johnson has been very happy to use this. We've seen Trump use it as well. And all of this securitization language really leads directly into the surveillance industry and the need to buy more surveillance equipment. And Israel is positioning itself very centrally in all of this. And I think it's really something to be tackling early on. There will be big questions around surveillance coming up, and we don't want to just walk blindfolded into this future where we're giving all our information to whichever app gets downloaded.